Load it later. Yes, so thank you so very much. I first want to acknowledge you. You are so phenomenal. I have been watching you for about maybe 6 months now,
Hmm.
and have been so blessed by your content, by everything that you share. I'm like one of those kind of in the background followers, taking the information that you give out so gracefully, so beautifully,
Thank you.
and was able to actually do something different in my business. I started following you about the TikTok, and I
Yes.
didn't know how to do TikTok. I was maybe at like 2,000 followers, but just taking
Yeah.
some of your advice. I'm up to 40,000 now, and that is such a great milestone for me. I'm still learning how to perfect it. But just seeing that much growth over the last 6 months from 2,000 to 40,000 is so
Wow.
phenomenal. And then I am a student of Pedro. So I just found out that Barry and Blue and Pedro, I'm like, I know her. They were mentioning your name on the Crush at You summit. I was like, I know
Oh.
Rachel. Yeah. And so they were like, you guys really want to make sure you follow Rachel Pedersen. She's phenomenal. I was like, I follow her. So I felt like a fan, like, oh my God, I know her.
Ah,
So yeah, I was like,
that's so
okay,
cool.
yes, yes. Your
Yes.
name's going
Oh,
into rooms and places, that maybe your feet haven't traveled yet, but I just thought that
yeah.
was so phenomenal to actually follow you and then hear some of the
No
best,
kidding.
best speakers in the
Mhm.
world, just she's killing it out here. There's no other ways. Like she's doing it. I'm like, she is. So yes, this was
Well,
such an
thank
amazing
you.
opportunity. Yes,
Mm,
ma'am.
thank you, honestly, for sharing that. Like that, I was trying not to tear up as you were sharing it because
Oh,
that is really, really kind. And when you're doing the thing, you
yeah,
don't necessarily experience that day to day. It doesn't ever feel like, oh, we just crushed it today. I mean, there are those days, and that's great.
yes,
But one thing that I think is very not discouraging, but at times it's like another video and this one didn't
yeah,
do that great, and another video and this one did okay, and then another, and
yes,
it's like there's so much. It's just like drops in a bucket, and
yes,
you know this because you're doing it, and that,
yes.
congrats, by the way. I just
Thank
want to say
you.
congrats on your
Thank you.
growth. But yeah, day to day you don't always feel that, hear that, etc. It's just like, okay, I'm just going to put another piece of value
Yeah.
out. Okay, I'm just going to try again. And the days where you actually like hear that and feel that, those are
Yes.
very few and far between, as you know, because you lead
I
too,
know. I
right?
know. Yeah, we got to give you your
Mhm.
flowers now. So, yes,
Oh,
I really
thank you.
appreciate you because we don't know. There's not a lot of people
Yeah,
that we have pouring back into us saying,
yeah.
hey, what you put out helped me like that. So I wanted
Mhm.
to first start off saying that you are out here killing it and you are helping so many people, even if you
Mhm.
don't realize it. And one thing that
Thank you.
Mr. Pedro says is that I don't know the scope of how many I'm helping. I don't think we will ever know the scope of
Yes.
just how many we are helping, but I'm grateful for opportunities like this where I can sit down. I'm sitting next to Rachel Peterson, you guys. Oh my goodness. And tell you like your value is valuable. Yes. And it
Thank
has
you.
really helped me. Someone who comes from a not so educational background. It's like
Yes.
not really knowing what to do and the simplicity, and you make it seem it's really done with a beautiful grace
Mhm.
that
Thank you.
it's understandable, you know um, especially when you have that educational challenge and you're trying to understand and make sense. You just break it down so gracefully. So I was
Thank
able
you.
to put your tools to work, and I just shared yesterday on my social media like I'm at 40,000, like oh my gosh. Yes.
Have you, okay, this is something that is so, it blows my mind. So anytime, you know how as you grow, like the number feels smaller and smaller as you get closer to it.
Yes.
So someone told me, if you look up, and this was a trend way back when on TikTok, if you look up how many people 40,000 is, so you look up crowd of 40,000 people, and it'll show you a picture of what a crowd of 40,000 people look like.
Right.
It is mind blowing. And so you can literally record a video like with a green screen of a crowd of 40,000 say thank you, like, because that to me was that perspective moment. 40,000 when you're approaching it or crossing it,
Right.
it doesn't feel like as many as before because you're still kind of you. But
Yes.
then you do that and it just shifts everything into perspective and you're like, oh, that's a lot of people. Whoa.
I'm gonna do that today.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
absolutely. I want to see because we don't see. It's like
yes,
it's big to us, but it's still kind of small. But when you put it in perspective and you see how many that is, yeah, I'm
yes.
sure it's totally different perspective.
So cool.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask, are you a mom?
I'm a mama.
You
I
are killing it.
am. Thank
Yes,
you. I've got
yes,
three amazing kids. They don't show up much in my marketing.
yeah,
And you've probably noticed that because you were like, wait, is
yeah.
she a mom or is she not? And a few years ago, my husband and I made a decision to intentionally pull them out of 99.9% of all forward facing things because things were growing quickly. And then, like, people got excited because they would be like, I feel like I know your kids. And then
Right.
we'd see our kids and they'd be like, oh, Delilah, how's soccer going? And I was like, oh, for a kid, that's really confusing
Yes,
and not fair.
yes,
So I was
yes.
like, let's just pull them out so that they can be main characters in their lives, not side characters in mine. And, but yeah, I've got three kids. I love them so
Wow.
much.
I
They're
know.
11, 7, and 4.
Wow, you look amazing.
You
I'm
are so
like,
nice. Thank
you
you.
still look like in your teens.
Oh, I
I
love
wanted to
you.
ask, and I thank you for sharing that, because I'm a mother of 9. I have
Hold on. We got to stop on that for 1 second. Like, actually, I
yes.
probably should be interviewing you because 9 kids. What's the age span? Like oldest to youngest? You don't have to
So
say them
I
all,
have
but
a 27. I have 2 groups of children. So I have adult children and
yes.
then I have little children. So 26 and all of those are stair step all the way down to 20. And then my why behind all of this, just humble beginnings,
Yes.
um, very impoverished beginnings.
Yep.
Mother was a single mother. Father was absent father. He was in prison. And 5 of my 9 children, because of my upgrowing and background, my mom is trying to make ends meet, me popping from like place to place
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
friends. 5 of my children were a product of rape. So I had the 5 children, and then I wanted them because I was young and I was like, I really don't know what love is, and I just want kids. That was my prayer, like 13,
Yep.
and I had them, and I wasn't going to, regardless of the situation or circumstance.
Yep.
It was my blessing from God, and so by the time I had my
Mm.
6th child, um, it was just like, okay, like the 5, I love you, no different. 6 was actively me willingly to participate in
Mm.
that relationship. And then after I got away from his father, which was abusive, very abusive,
Yeah.
um, it's like I'm done with dating and all of that. It just took time for myself to heal for 2 years. And then my
Yeah.
husband came on. And then we wanted children after a couple of years of
Yeah.
being married, couldn't have children.
Mm.
Like I've had 5 children and then I couldn't
Yeah.
have children for 10 years. So I was infertile. And it was unexplained infertility for whatever reason. But 2 years before my 6th child passed away, because he passed away 4 years ago,
Mm.
dropped dead playing basketball, I got pregnant with my 6-year-old who was redeemed. And so I was like, okay, like, wow. And then 2 years later, my last son before him, which would have been my last son before him, drops dead on the basketball court. And I got this 2-year-old that's keeping me alive. It's like it was the perfect time. Even though I went through
Yeah.
the stress and struggle of infertility, he came at the appointed time. And then my son dropped dead April 18, 2018. It was so devastating. I was
Yeah.
pregnant at the time. I just found out 2 days before he dropped dead that I was pregnant again. I knew that I wasn't going to be able to carry or sustain that pregnancy. It was just too much going on. And so 1 year to the date of my son's passing away, We dropped dead April 18, 2018 at 6:46 p.m. On April 18, 2019 at 6:06 a.m., I heard a whisper, go take a pregnancy test. And
Mm.
because I dealt with infertility, I had pregnancy tests everywhere.
Yeah.
And I went in there and took a pregnancy test, and it was positive on the very exact day of me losing my son. And so I went and had some blood tests done. They were like, yeah, your numbers are really high. I had two. I had two babies, two twin girls. Found out I was pregnant with him on the very day that he passed away. It's redemption and revelation. So I have
Yeah.
these older children, then I have the two twins, 2-year old twins, and then I have my 6-year old. So we kind of have like this gap here, but it works and it's so beautiful and it's so amazing. So yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
mother of 9. Absolutely. Oh, I got the waterworks going on.
I
I'm
started
sorry.
crying. I was like, I can't, I almost forgot we were recording a podcast and I was like, I can't just start crying like right now, but that is
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
Wow. And okay, so I know that you want to ask me questions, but I want to ask you a question. At what
yeah.
point did you become a doctor? Because like 9 kids, you became a doctor. You came from, first and foremost, you came from a single mom, you became a single mom.
Yeah.
Wild story. When did you become a doctor?
So when I had my son, I had I'm not gonna call it a near death experience because
Yeah.
it was a death experience. And this is the young boy who passed away.
Yeah.
So in me having him, we both died, but my doctor
Mm.
was a believer and he interceded for me for 3 days. I stayed in this state. And for 3 days, when
Yeah.
I came back, he was like, whatever you did, you better get yourself together, get on the straight and narrow. So I totally changed my life and I began to, just try to walk this straight line, take
Yeah.
care of my children, and do a lot of community work.
Hmm.
And so my doctor's is not with the MD, it's
Hmm.
spiritual doctorate.
I
And
love
and
that.
that comes with you having to have at least 10 years in the community, being known in the community. So in 2020, right,
Yep.
during the pandemic, um, my mentor said, hey, are you ready for your doctorates? And I had been feeling like I'm ready to go to the
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know. It's just like you have all the qualifications. Your name's great. You've
Yeah.
served. I'm from Los Angeles, California. So I used to go out and serve on Skid Row. It's just like, I believe it's time. So in 2020, I prayed on it. I was like, okay, if it's my time, then you say yes, then I'll go. So I've held the title of doctorate for 2 years now. And that
Wow.
just means that I have the application and the execution of spiritual matters. And that's pretty much
Yes.
my why too. They call me Dr. Chain Breaker
I
or the
love
Mystery Master,
that.
get you out of
Yes.
poverty, get you out of pain, and help you. This is my biggest signature piece is that we
Yeah.
all have been given gifts and talents, even you, amazing gifts and talents that
Mhm.
we can use to create wealth from within and not wealth from out. And that's just like my signature piece. So I look for men and women who
Mhm.
want to find the value in their vault because it is in their vault and create
Yes.
wealth, be able to spend time at home with their
Yeah.
family and travel and do the things that they were born and purposed to do. Yeah.
That's so good. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing.
Thank you. Yeah. So I wanted to see like if you can, how did you first get started? How
Mhm.
did this come about for you? How were you able to scale in a sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
make impact, reach your audience? I think, just some of those little tips that you're looking at two women who come from
Mhm.
different walks of life, maybe some similarities, but
Mhm.
we are working from home on our own terms. We're making a difference in a dollar. That's what I like, that we get to make a
I love
difference
that.
in a dollar. Yes.
Yes, beautiful. I love that. Make a difference, make a dollar.
Yeah.
That's like the bonus, right? When you
Uh-huh.
make a difference. I do think when you make a difference, when you serve people a lot, like money can follow. It doesn't always
Yeah.
have to be big, but like it does follow.
Yes.
Okay, so I grew up actually the daughter of a pastor, and my mom was the worship leader.
Okay.
And so I was kind of raised in front of people. And
Yeah.
so like that actually is part of what made it easier for me to pull the kids out of marketing,
Yes.
because I always felt like I was, a part of what
Yeah.
my parents presented. And right around the time I turned 13, things went funny in my house.
Yeah.
And I haven't shared the stories yet, and I will someday, but I need to
Yes.
make peace with some people first.
Yes.
Addiction, abuse, and separation, financial issues. When my dad was a pastor, a lot of people think like pastors' families are taken care of, and usually financially they are some of the least taken care of, as long as
Yeah.
it's not a mega church.
Yeah.
And so like we were in and out of poverty. Like we lived in an old woman's basement for $100 a month, and it was like a tiny space. We're actually going to go find out tomorrow how many square feet that place was, because
Yeah.
I have to estimate it was less than 600 square feet, and that's where I was raised, but I think it's less. So we're gonna go find out. But that's where my life kind of started. And at 13, my parents started. It got really, really, really dangerous in the house, and cops were in and out.
Yeah.
And they started separating and getting back together until I was 18. And so it was just not super stable.
Yeah.
And then when I turned 18, I went to a Christian Bible college for 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And then I was invited to no longer join them because I kind of broke all the rules and I was
Yeah.
out of control. Just, I lost my path for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and then I kind of got smacked upside the head when I found out I was going to be a mom at the age of 20, and then have my daughter at 21. And that's not teen mom, but it's still young.
Yeah. Right.
And so I decided right away, as soon as I found out I was pregnant, I was like, all right, time to become a mom, time to get my life together. Um, when I broke things off with her dad, I
Uh-huh.
became a single mom. I did still have some support from different family members to like watch Dakota and help me find my path.
Yes.
But I was on food stamps and welfare for a while, at least a year, donating blood plasma to pay for diapers and bus fare, and doing like medical experiments,
Yes.
being a guinea pig for the
Yeah.
FDA.
Yeah.
You know how that
Yeah.
path goes, and that was great money back then. I was like, wow, it was a
Yes.
blessing at that point. And so um, I became a hairstylist. While I was a hairstylist, I met my husband. Something you said, yeah, something you said stood out to me, because the way you said I met my husband wasn't just like I met my current husband. It was like, no, I met my
Yeah.
husband, the
Yeah.
one,
Yeah.
right? And that was what happened the day I met Paul. I was like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
safe. I knew this is forever. This is a
I
place
got
where I
chills over here. Wow. Yeah.
so 13 days after we met, we eloped and got
Yeah.
married. Where I was like, I don't want to waste any time. Let's make this happen. And from there, like he really created a safe place for me to start healing and trusting and growing. And 7 years ago, I started our businesses, first with freelancing, then with freelancing and education.
Yeah.
And then I also, in the process, built my platform, mostly out of necessity at
Yeah.
first. And then
Yeah.
I fell in love with social media. I love it. It's so powerful. One thing I want to share that a lot of times people are like, why do you love social media? And for me, it feels like a portal of possibility.
Yes.
So where you might be literally sitting, and for me, it was sitting in this tiny room in a house in Anoka with,
Yes.
tears running down my face, and I could go on Twitter and connect with someone who has a completely different life than me. So portal of
Yes.
possibility. And so I just started connecting with people online, built my platform in the process. And today we have, still wild to say, but two seven-figure businesses, multi seven-figure businesses. I've given a TEDx talk, and I got a dream book deal with Hay House. So
What?
yeah, this is,
Oh my goodness. I'm over
oh,
here like, okay, stay on makeup.
I
That
know.
is,
Like, let's actually not look at each other too
I
hard, or
know,
else
right?
I'll
It's
start
like stay
crying.
on makeup because it's just so phenomenal. It's really, your story is so phenomenal. And most people, we're taught not to judge books by covers, and
Yeah.
what's so powerful is you have, because the world wants to make this about a race debate. No, we're human beings, and we have similarities,
Yes.
but we also have testimonies.
Yeah.
And, poverty and pain doesn't discriminate.
Mm.
And to see kind of the metamorphosis, how you
Mhm.
start off as a caterpillar and you go in that cocoon and you're spinning and that
Yeah.
fire, that friction and fire, but you're getting all the details,
Yeah.
of who you are to become when you come out of this cocoon. It's so mind blowing. It's so amazing. And to see that, yeah, I started here, but this is where I'm going. You're not
Yeah.
even done. Like I'm still soaring. I'm still going. It's just so
Yeah.
phenomenal. It really
Thank
is.
you. Thank you. I
Yeah.
felt that listening to your story too. And one of the things that I'm curious about, because this was big for me, is when people in church would go on stage and they'd share their testimony, it was like one thing. It was a
Yeah.
simple testimony. They'd be like,
Yeah.
so, I struggled with judging people and then God healed me and that's good. And I was like, oh, shoot, I can't go on stage because mine is so messy.
Right.
Like, do you want me to check all the boxes or do we just pick one? Or,
Right.
and there was a lot of, shame associated with like
Yes.
this, people talked in a big way when I was
Yeah.
Rachel, the pastor's daughter, who
Right.
suddenly is now going to be a single mom.
Yep.
And I'm curious, like for you, was that also difficult? Like saying, okay, I need to draw a line in the sand and say, this was me before, but not anymore, not moving forward. Did you experience that
Absolutely.
too? Mm-hmm.
I did. So I was the woman with all the children.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Yeah.
the talk and like you said, people would get up with one testimony and I had millions. So
Yes.
it was, I don't fit here. Like something is off here. And then, I was weighed down by coming from that type of background and then looking for support in the
Yes.
church aspect and then to kind of be judged and
Yeah. Oh,
disregarded in a sense was very painful for
yeah.
me.
Mm-hmm.
And what has kept me is that I actually had a relationship with God outside of the church
Mm-hmm.
because he would tell me in those moments. I remember going into the churches on lots of occasions and saying, this is it. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to leave my
Mm-hmm.
kids on the bench. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to kill myself and
Mm-hmm.
maybe that will get their attention. Maybe, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I'm
Yeah.
here for help. And instead of help, like I'm being judged. And I remember in those moments that I would hear that still small voice. Like, I got
Mm-hmm.
greatness for you. Don't give, or he'll tell me, that's not how I act. I
Yeah.
love you no matter where you are. And it was that and still is that that keeps me going, and
Yes.
that made me realize that I'm going to be great. I was born to be great, and most people can't
Yes.
handle that. And I do
Yes.
know that when they see the greatness on you, they want to suppress that and tell you everything that you're not. But I had to
Mm-hmm.
keep listening to the still small voice that I got you. And
Mm-hmm.
actually speaking about that right now, he showed me back then, during worship,
Yes.
during I got something great for you. And I didn't know what it was, but now the pieces of the puzzle is coming together. So they call me controversial. I love God with all my whole heart, soul.
Yep.
But I'm not religious. I'm
Yep.
relational and I'm
Mm-hmm.
educational. I want to be impactful. I believe
Yes.
that we can make more of an impact. We can reach more, communicate with
Yes.
with others from all around the world. That's why I love social media. I'm still learning it,
Yep.
but it just gives me a greater way to connect with such beautiful people as yourself and
Mm.
others who share similarities, but didn't let the pain stop the,
Yeah.
and actually see the metamorphosis out of something that seems so bruised and so broken or so ugly. It's really beautiful, and we're able to go back and give that to others. That is just so phenomenal.
Mm.
No one would have ever known that. I would have never known that, you know,
Yeah.
um, without you sharing it. And I'm just like, I'm amazed. I really am amazed. And I thank God first and foremost for your life, for keeping you, and just thank you for everything that you do. Because now
Mm.
it has a greater meaning. Like
Mm.
you're not just another social media influencer. You are a social media influencer that impacts on purpose, and
Mm.
that your work is attributed to your story. And I'm just like,
I'm like gonna start crying. What the
I
heck? This
know
is
I'm
like
at
the
a loss for words. I'm trying to get it
best.
together. It's like,
What the heck? This is amazing though. And I think it is wild when like if someone were to put up like two pictures of you and I next to each other and say, what do these two women have in common? People would probably be like, I can't come up with much right now in this moment.
I gotta take a picture. Right. I do. I
I'm
got
going
to
to
take a
too.
picture right now because this is going to be a story to be told. Make sure I got it. All right.
All
So
right,
I got
smile. Smile, I'm taking one too. Yep. People are going to be like, wait, you guys like forgot you were doing a podcast and basically
right.
talked about your stories and your journey and your pain. And yes. And you know what? Oddly, I think this is probably going to be one of many people's favorite
Yeah.
because it is so good to know like, okay, I'm not the only one who struggled. I'm not the only one who's really messed things
Yes.
up, you
Yes.
know? Hmm.
Yes. I believe that this will be more impactful because it's the truth. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this is what it was, and this it didn't stop me. And I
Yeah.
believe there's power in that because so many people get
Yeah.
stuck in their pain,
Yeah.
and I say this all the time that um the pain or the problems didn't happen to you, it happened for you.
Yeah.
And that you're a beautiful testament of
Hmm.
that. I didn't get that like aha revelation until like really 2 years ago, right? During the pandemic. It was like,
Yeah.
do you know what I really loaded you with? Like you have stories,
Mm. Yeah.
and those stories will change lives.
Yeah.
And that's the value in my fault. The very first time that I was told to tell my story, I was a nervous wreck. I was shaking, my healing was able to come, but it also showed me that because you went through and you overcome, I've given you keys, and your last name will mean either one of
Hmm.
two things at the end of your life. You will either be a key or you will be a padlock. You will either
Mm.
open the doors for others or you will shut them out by never speaking. So I got on there and I spoke, and it was like 12 people. It's like, can I pay you to teach me how to speak? And I'm like, okay, well, no, I charge. I actually
I
paid
love
myself like $12,000 in 1 hour from actually taking a story and sharing it
yes,
truthfully, wholeheartedly, and others saying, you know what? I want to tell my story so that I can
yes,
be healed and that I can help. Yeah.
yes.
Yes, I know.
This is
Time
amazing already.
flies when you're having such a great
I
time.
know I'm like, whoa, oh shoot, I have to get to my next call, but I
I
like don't want
know.
this to end. So my thought is I want to connect with you after this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm on a few more calls for the rest of today, but like I just
Okay.
want to connect with you in general because
Yes.
your story is so impactful. And I'm sitting here just like, wow.
And so is
Um,
yours. So
Thank
is
you.
yours.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, this is incredible.
Yeah. So
Thank you
I
for
will send
having
you.
me.
You want me to send you an email or something like that? You want me to send you?
Yes, if you
Okay.
send an email, that'd be perfect. And we are just a little bit behind on responses just because
Okay.
we literally have right now a filming crew. They're not here for this, but we have
Okay.
a filming crew who's recording a 6-part docu-series about my story right now. So this feels like confirmation
It is.
because I kind of don't always share my story lately. And one of my team members brought it up and she said, why did you stop telling your story? You need to share it. And I was like, dang, you're so right. And so we brought in a film crew and we've got a 6-part docuseries coming in the next, let's see, 2 months.
Come on, let's
So
do it.
it's
Yes, let's do
time.
it. I'm gonna put my information in the chat. I'm just gonna give you my
Hmm.
personal email and my phone number. You can reach out to me or
Hmm.
however, just so you can have it. But I encourage you. One thing that I have learned from this is
Hmm.
I did so many things and got my hands into so many things. Um, to where I felt like I was absolutely going insane. It's like I have so many different things that I want to do, but it was not until I actually um, got into my purpose that my
Yep.
prosperity and not just financial prosperity, like things that I have never ever been able to do for my children,
Amazing.
for my
Yes.
family, the peace that comes with it. And that is what I took away from it. It's when you really step into your purpose, all
Yes.
aspects of your life, from your healing, spiritual, emotional, physical, you
Yes.
prosper in all of those areas. So I highly encourage you, um,
Mm,
tell your story. There are so many others that need to hear it. So many others that want to hear it. And I definitely would love to stay connected with you.
I would love that.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
absolutely.
I will
Yes.
reach out over email and then let's get
Okay.
connected
Yeah.
on social or wherever we communicate. I would love that. So
Yes.
you were
Yes.
incredible.
Thank
What a
you. So are
really
you.
cool interview that ended up just being one of the best conversations I've had in months. Like this is
Yes.
so great and it's the right timing too. Like
Yes.
you got what you needed today. I got what I needed. Like
Yes.
what? Okay. Go have
Yes.
such a great rest of your Thursday. We'll talk soon.
Yes, ma'am. You have a
All
great day.
right.
Thank you so
You
much. I
too.
will see you soon.
Thank you, Tawana.
Okay. Yes.